Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to have this opportunity to interview shamanic healer and author Kerri Hummingbird Sami, whose newest book is titled Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. Kerri will be speaking to us from Cedar Park, Texas. Kerri is a medicine woman, a mother, and a mentor who is the founder of Inner Medicine Training, a mystery school that shares potent ancient traditions from the Andes and Himalayas for owning your wisdom and living your purpose. As a shamanic healer and mentor, Kerri catalyzes mind shifts that transform life challenges into gifts of wisdom. I had the pleasure of interviewing Kerri about her #1 international best-selling book, The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama, on Grief and Rebirth podcast a few years ago. And today I will be talking with her about her remarkable new book titled Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. Kerri is also the author of Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound, and the host of the Soul Nectar Show, which inspires people to lead their lives wide awake with an authenticity, passion, and purpose that positively impacts others. I'm looking forward to talking with Kerri about the diagnosis she received from Western psychology that led her to the road less traveled, shamanic healing, the ways people operate through different lenses of perception, the wake-up call that is on its way to all of us, and much more for what is surely going to be an enlightening and highly transformative interview for all of us, as all of Kerri's interviews are. So get ready, everybody. Here she comes. Hi, Kerri. Welcome back to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Oh, I'm so glad to be back, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm just so excited to allow Spirit to flow through me exactly what everybody needs to hear right now.
This is an important interview because this really is, I'm interviewing all these people and everyone, and books are coming out about the vibration of the planet is going from 3D to 5D. Those who don't know, what is that? What does that mean? And you and I are going to talk about that, and that's going to change all of our experiences on the planet. So let's just begin from the beginning of Kerri and tell us about the trauma you experienced in your childhood, that diagnosis that puts you in a proverbial cage, and the abusive life you created for yourself.
Yes. So thank you so much for asking that. As many people that have struggles later in life, I had some difficult beginning to my childhood. And so those ACEs scores were high. I had some violence in my family system. I had a time from 1 to 5 where we were living with the first stepfather I had, and he was a violent alcoholic drunk. Like he had a reaction galore, and he didn't really do very well with little children in his environment. He was not adept at handling that. And so what happened was that he would beat my mother if I irritated him.
Oh my God.
And so that set up a very strange, relationship, obviously a trauma bond between me and my mother, because she would try to get me to be quiet, and so pinch me or whatever she had to do to try to get me to not act out in order so that she wouldn't be beaten. So there was it's a very sadistic little game that was going on there.
Up and down to protect you. She was just trying to control you.
She was trying to help me by helping herself and keep us, because she was at that time, remember everybody, because my mom is like in almost 80. And at that time, it was really difficult for a woman to earn a living and support a child at the same time. There was not the support that we have here today. And there was not the income. Women were not earning the income to do that. And so my mom was really a staunch advocate for women getting to have their own income, have their own jobs, and mostly because of this experience, be able to, protect themselves monetarily from this kind of abusive situation. So, going forward in my life, my mom left him. She got a lot of friends to help her leave him, and immediately met my third father, who was amazing, was the best dad ever. It was like, I just went from like the worst father figure to like the absolute most amazing.
Well, did she go through healing or something to learn how to choose better?
She just got lucky. I think the universe went, here, you need this one right here. And I actually met my dad first. I was on the apartment building steps of the apartment we were living in with dad number 2. And I met my dad number 3, who was my dad for most of my life. And he met me first, and he was like, wow, this child is really scared. This child is really not sure. And this child needs help. And so then when he saw me walk into the room with my mother at this party, this divorce party that mutual friends were having, he was like, that's the little girl I saw. And oh, that's her mother. And oh, I really like this woman. And so he was like instant love. It was like an angel came down and said, here, you need help. So, but that doesn't take away, even though I had the best dad ever, for most of my life, from 5 years old until he passed away in 2017. And by the way, he's always still with me, as we all know, he's always with me. So I always had my dad's support. That didn't take away the patterns in the brain and the early childhood traumas that happened and that set the pattern for how my brain put things together, right? How my brain.
Well, your most formative time.
Exactly. Trauma. Exactly. And that needed to be healed, because by the time I hit 16 and I started getting those, hormones and all this kind of stuff, all that stuff just triggered this past experience. And I started acting out and reacting and being kind of wild. And I mean, teenagers can be wild, but I was like, pretty wild. And so all of that, my mom and my dad were like, this is from that early childhood stuff. They were really smart and they knew. And so they got me in with like a really good psychiatrist. Now, back in the time when I had my psychiatrists were actually psychiatrists. They were like Jungian, they were deep, they were wise, they were knowledgeable. They were like the expert you went to. Like, you didn't just go to the psychologist, you went to the psychiatrist, like somebody that really knew. They
tried medication too.
But they didn't back then. He said, I'm not going to give you any medication, because back when I was doing it, they didn't do that. Now all they do is sit on a little computer or type in some stuff for 5 minutes with you and give you a pill, which I don't agree with. I don't think that's the right way to go. And for my journey, I can tell you why, is that, first of all, if they meet with you 5 minutes, how are they really going to give you an accurate diagnosis? They don't know you at all. All they know is some little questions on their computer that they're filling out. That is not an accurate assessment. And that also is not enough to know about you in order to give you a pill, to diagnose and give you a pill in that amount of time. It's just not okay. So the way I feel about it is that, my first psychiatrist didn't give me any diagnosis. He said, I could give you a label. I could say manic depressive. I could say bipolar even. He said, but I'm not going to do that to you. You're going to start on your journey and learn some tools, and I'm going to send you with some good tools. So I had a really good person to start out with. But that didn't take away the journey, right? Because there's other initiations, and you go through initiations. I went to the motherhood initiation, and that just threw me for a loop, because my body hadn't done any healing on that early childhood stuff. And now I've got a baby to care for. And what often happens is that projection, it's like you projecting, you don't even know you're doing it. But as a mother, you're projecting onto the child like your inner child. And so unless you've healed that, that's just going to be the automatic. And so that's really what happened. And I started my journey of being on these medications, being in postpartum depression. I had a very severe postpartum depression. The baby was very colicky. All those things just set in motion that deepening part of my journey. Now, I don't think it's a problem, because now I see it. It's like the shadow journey. We have to, at some point in our lives, we've got to go down into the shadow journey. We have to feel our feelings. We have to get into our bodies, and motherhood is a great body initiation, because you can't help but be in your body. You're feeling all this stuff. When you get into your body, you're going to feel the stuck traumas that got stored in your body in different places. You're going to feel that, and you need to heal it. and you're going to have emotions come up that you don't even know where they came from. So I went through that metamorphosis and that process, and I still tried to be productive and all of this, but it's overwhelming.
You must have been suffering and in pain, emotional pain all the time.
I was in total emotional pain all the time, and I was trying to ward it off with the pills. And by the time I was like 38, things just kind of hit the fan. And at that time, and by the way, by the time that happened, I got my diagnosis. They said, you're borderline personality, and you have early childhood abuse, and and you're going to be this way the rest of your life, and you're going to have to be on these medications, and it's never going to change, and very few people can get out of it, and all this kind of stuff that I was, number one, my first reaction was, I don't want to be broken, and this tells me I'm broken. The second reaction was, well, I guess if I'm broken, I'm not responsible for my actions and behavior, so I can keep doing the stuff I'm doing and even get worse with it because it's not my fault because I'm a victim.
Wow.
I got stuck there for a while. And then I decided, I don't like this storyline.
He gave you a label. He gave you a label.
He gave me a label. And labels are terrible. Labels are cages, and labels are very disempowering, and they're a victim story. So when you give somebody a limited opportunity like that, you basically put them in a cage and say the rest of your life is going to suck and you can't do anything about it except cope and take a pill. And that's what labels and diagnoses are. They're boxes. Then in that, in a way, and I don't want to project that this is what psychotherapists do, but I know as a healer, when I became a healer after all of this nightmare, it is kind of vulnerable to need individual clients in order to maintain your personal income. And so when you get a client that's going to stick around week after week after week after week after week for a really long time, it's kind of nice because you can settle into a rhythm and know you're going to get paid every week, right? And I think that's subconsciously influencing some of this behavior on the part of psychologists, is to get that steady income keep coming in. And I understand that, but we need to really look at that shadow and see if there's other tools we can be helping people to get well quicker. Right. And one of those tools is to toss out these labels. And instead of focusing on how you're broken and all this stuff and it's in a fixed position, start to look at how can I help this person to change their story. And so that's what I did. I finally got sick of my own story and I said, I'm out of here. I left everything.
So how did you change your story? And I want to know, did you change your story before you became a shaman or after you became a shaman? Because then once you became a shaman, you were helping others transform their lives and change their stories. So how did that all, what's the segue with that?
What's the segue? So the segue was, I was either going to commit suicide and leave my children motherless, because that's how far down the black hole I went with this diagnosis, or I was going to claim responsibility for my life.
How old were you at this point? How old?
38.
38.
Yeah, my kids were in elementary and going into middle school.
So they were traumatized already.
Totally.
Being brought up by all your stuff.
Everything going on since they were born, because I was traumatized when my first son came. So, I mean, this is like, you have to really take radical responsibility for your life. And so I said, okay, I'm a smart woman. I was Smith College educated. I know I'm smart. If you do the same thing for 20 years and none of it changes, that's the sign of insanity. So I said, okay, I'm going to do everything different. I'm not going to go to psychotherapy. I'm not going to take these pills. I'm not going to be married to this person. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to start over and I'm going to see what life has for me. And that was my major decision. And I got lots of little spirit signs about to do that. And immediately upon leaving, I felt better. That first night in the bathtub with the candlelight, I was like instantly peaceful. I made the right choice. And then starting with that, people started coming into my life, teachers, yoga. And then I had a first shamanic program. And then I had another teacher. And I just started this swarm of teachers that helped me to transition many fundamental things that were inside of me that weren't working. So you were talking about how did I transition that? First thing, I chose to live. Number one, I chose to live. I chose to live and not let this suppress me anymore and not let this drag me down. The choice to live is the first choice. Then I decided I would try anything that came my way that made things better. And I wouldn't like have any ideas about what that was. I would just do whatever came my way that would make it better. So everybody that came my way, I said, I'll try it out. Yoga, I'll try it. Shamanism, I'll try it. The Four Agreements, I'll read it. I'll do it. I don't care. I got that Four Agreements book. I read it 40 times, front to back. I was like, I'm memorizing this. I'm reprogramming.
It was like your new Bible.
I'm like, I'm going to reprogram my brain because it is not working correctly. And this is another key thing that really helped me because my illness was mental. It actually helped me in a funny way because I had all these crazy labels. And I said, well, if I'm crazy and my brain is malfunctioning, then I'm not going to believe what my brain tells me. I'm going to go to another source. It was pivotal.
Wow, that's such a great deduction. Wow.
I was like, I'm going to go to something bigger than me and start trusting that instead. So I went to the earth. I got grounded. I went to my body. I started feeling my body, got in my body. I went to my heart, started listening and tuning into my intuition in my womb and my heart. And that got me out of my head, which had some faulty thinking in it from this early childhood. I had to start untangling that and unweaving it. And that was a long process. It took me 12 years to get from there to here. So it's a big process and it's worth the journey. And like you said, it's the path less traveled because it was my unique thumbprint journey for my soul to guide me back home. And everybody has a unique thumbprint and everybody has a journey. So stop thinking some expert knows what's right for you or some standard, government issue thing is what's right for you. No, you have to take the journey into the mystery with your soul to find your healing.
And you also, what's so beautiful about you is that you've taken all of this and you are now using it to help others transform their lives and to peel away their soul's truths layer by layer, which is so amazing. Now you talk about a hummingbird visiting you on a vision quest in the woods, and you call yourself Kerri Hummingbird Sami. So tell us about that story with the hummingbird.
Yeah, absolutely.
Significant for you.
Well, it was a couple of years before that happened. I was buying this house that I'm in right now, and I was taking a drum journey, and the hummingbird came to me in the drum journey at the end of the journey unexpectedly. It was a moment of awe in this rainbow light in my vision. I was like, oh, and then immediately the real estate agent called me and said, the house is yours. I was like, okay, that is connected. So that's why I changed my name. I changed it in shamanic circles, because when you go to a drum journey, they ask you what your name is, and usually an animal ally comes up. So I was Kerri Hummingbird. And then I started changing it on social media after that vision because I'm like, I'm obviously Kerri Hummingbird. Like, it just came to me. So by the time years later, when I had that journey in the woods, I was learning at that time, I had been learning for a while that when I open sacred space and I call in the south, the west, the north, and the east, and earth, and I call in hummingbird and I call in all the allies, that they're showing up for me. They're actually right there. The ancestors, when I call them in, they're right here with us. When I call in Father Sky, Great Spirit, it's right here with us.
So now you see these beings when you call them in?
I feel it.
You feel them, you sense them? How does that?
I'm an empath, so I more feel the energy coming in. I feel it. If I'm taking a shamanic journey, I can get some visions, but a lot of time, most of mine is feeling sense. I'm really feeling them. I feel their presence. I'll get chills on my spine, or I'll just feel the room is very crowded. And then other people tell me they see it, so they're like, oh my gosh, you see this room, it's all filled up. So I call in lots of allies, but I was having a hard time, like, really trusting because I couldn't see them, that they were there. And so at this retreat that I was on by myself in the woods, I was like, I'm just going to go sing on this rock. And I'm going to sing this Icaro, this healing song, and I'm going to call in all the allies and just have fun because I have nothing else to do. So I sat up there and I called in the mountains and the trees and the plants and everything I could think of. And then all of a sudden this little giggle happened inside me. And I called in hummingbird in the song. And out of nowhere, this hummingbird flew, and it just came right in front of my third eye, literally like a foot away, and hovered.
Wow.
And my eyes were as big as saucers and my mouth hung open, and I thought, oh my gosh. And it was there for like a good 30 seconds to a minute, and I'm just staring at it, and it's staring at me. And I was like, I think you're trying to tell me that whenever I call, you come. And it literally nodded its little head, and then it flew off.
How fabulous.
And from that moment, I trust. When I am in a healing and I call in source and spirit and all the allies and the people that help me in the healings, the medicine people, they're there and it works. And
that's amazing.
The proof is how it feels and how the person feels.
That's wonderful. You'd also talk about a false personality that is constructed in phases of childhood development, and that we can free ourselves from that false personality, which you also experienced yourself. So you want to tell everyone about what that's about?
Yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, like little children are so imaginative. We have such amazing imaginations, and that's why they create games on the fly with each other and they just flow, creating all this stuff. And we're actually returning to innocence that way. That's the whole spiritual path. But in order to get there, you've got to get through the monster that your child created to protect itself. Because if your child was confronted with really scary things, as most people have some scary things at least, then your child creates this monster to protect it. And it's a defender. And so in order to reconnect with your inner child and do healing with your inner child, you have to get through the defender, the protector. So the way to do that is to really realize that there's aspects of you inside of you. You're not one solid thing. You're like aspects of a self, and to start getting in touch with those aspects. And shamanic journey is really helpful for that because it's in the imagination space, and we go to the 5D, and I bring people to the 5D in a sanctuary, and then we ask the child to come forward who that trauma happened to and to do some healing work with that child.
Now, 1 second, Kerri, tell me, what does it mean when you say you go to the 5D?
So the imagination space is the 5D. So when we go into our imaginations, we're in a environment that is timeless. That means that anything can be accessed in that environment that ever happened at any point in time right now. So it can be called up right now. It's like a universal library of you or any other you ever were in any other past life or anywhere else. It can all be called up in that 5D space. And I call it the sanctuary. I have a certain construction I've created that allows people to meet me in there. And in that space, because it's in the imagination, it's in the 5D, it's in the higher realms of our consciousness. It's a vibrational
construct.
It's in a higher realm of our consciousness. It's really amazing how that space, bringing ourselves into that space, clients that can't do this on their own can suddenly hear and see and experience themselves or ancestors or past life or their inner child or whatever. So holding that space open is what I'm good at. That's what I'm here for. I'm what they call a cycle pump. So I am like a channel to all dimensions of time and space and levels of consciousness. And so I can open up the space for that to happen. And that's how the healings happen, is that the healer energies from the higher realms come through me to perform the healing. And sometimes it's medicine people from Earth that come through me for the healings. And because I'm a cycle pump. So that's just what my design is.
That's fabulous. And then you also talk about, in your book, you talk about a smoky mirror. And that we can heal ourselves by working with the smoky mirror. We haven't gotten quite to your book yet, but I love these concepts. So could you tell us about what that smoky mirror?
The smoky mirror, yeah, it's a Toltec concept actually. And it kind of has related to what we just talked about with the aspects of self. So what happens is that we come into this sort of this human vessel, and it's pre-programmed and conditioned with points of view that we inherit from our ancestry and from our mother and from being in the mother's womb. And then from our early experiences, just keep adding on to that sort of lens that we see through. And the lens can get super foggy and difficult to see through, kind of like if you took a hot shower and you look at the mirror and there's all that steam on the mirror, you can sort of see yourself behind that steam, but not really. And you've got to try to wipe it away to see yourself more clearly, and then it covers over again. That's how the ego works. And so what we want to do is be aware that we're seeing through a smoky mirror all the time, even if we think it looks crystal clear. Like, I know what happened, XYZ, and then XYZ. And you'll see that people start telling the story. First this happened, and then 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 this. That's all smoky mirror. That's what you think happened. But if you put two people in the same room, they'll tell a different version of the first this happened and then this happened and then because why? Because of the smoky mirror. And I think even if you had a camera in the space, it still wouldn't be clear what happened.
Interesting. How do we clear that smoky mirror to eliminate the pathway? And you talk about a pathway forward to a new earth of sovereign humans. That's deep, Kerri. You want to explain that to us? How do we do that?
So the pathway to sovereignty, and I define sovereignty as living as your authentic, real self underneath all of that smoky mirror, underneath all the layers of protection, underneath all of the conditioning. At the core of you is your real, true self. And so what we want to do is we want to bring that real, true self higher and higher and higher into your being until it's looking right out your eyes and seeing with clarity. In order to do that, we have to release layer upon layer of victim consciousness. Layer upon layer of belief systems, layer upon layer of identity.
Does this take a long time, or is this like done in ceremony? Or?
I mean, it can happen pretty quickly. Sometimes I did my first lives, by the way, on another show. I did my first live supports, and I'd never done that before. And I was even amazed. It was like some big, deep stuff for every person was clearing in a matter of a few minutes.
Wow.
It doesn't take that long. It's just you have to know how to access as the healer. You need to know how to get in, see the person's core real self, which is an art to see through all the smoky mirror and into the person's core true self and bring that more to the forward. Keep bringing that light out. And then as you bring that knowing and that light and that realization out, and you're, as the witness, you're seeing that person's real deep core, what happens is that the layers of falseness just sort of clear on their own because they're revealed as not true. So a lot of it has to do with the body. The body stores, the body keeps a score is a great book, but the body's holding on to all this trauma and all these beliefs and all these emotions that never got to express, and a lot of stuff that if you just can bring yourself to feel it, you'll heal it, and that'll bring that next layer out. But we're rising, Irene. So this isn't a lot of people want to know, how can I be fixed and then just love my life the rest of my life? It's not like that. So switch your mentality into curiosity. How can I learn more and more every single day that I didn't know already that will lift me to a place of greater and greater joy and happiness and prosperity and deeper wisdom? How can I keep myself open and curious to continually release what I think I know and continually listen and embrace realization, and then let that embody and let me be lifted to higher and higher states of consciousness, because we're evolving into Homo luminous, which is the divinity in the body, which is the trinity of right now we have a duality in our DNA strands, right? But we're going to the trinity in the DNA strands. And so that means that we're co-creating with our soul and our very vessel in our body. And so a lot of this surrender is the surrender of the false personality that the soul created anyway to have an experience. But now we're dissolving that. So the soul is the one inhabiting the body fully. And that is going to be Homo luminous. And you can imagine once we're doing that, there's no more lying, pretending, deceiving, doubt, uncertain. All that kind of stuff is sort of in the shadows. It kind of goes away because now you know who you are because you're conscious.
And you're not taking things personally if you're in this luminous or this luminous mindset or whatever. You're now seeing things in a totally different way, I would imagine.
You're seeing things as, how is this for me, by my soul, through me, for my actualization, rather than why is this happening to me because it's uncomfortable and I don't like it. That's victim consciousness. It's why did I create this for myself to experience so that it would bring me a realization that I need for the next part of my journey and whatever's coming next that I'm doing in the world with my gifts.
Right. And as people peel away all of their layers and they become more and more authentic, that benefits the planet.
Absolutely, it does, because the planet is here for us to discover ourselves. She's holding space for us. She's the greatest sacred witness ever. I mean, think about it. We're made of Mother Earth. So she is our body. She is our vessel. She is aware of everything we think and feel. There's no hiding from Mother Earth. She knows it all. And she's the greatest teacher because she mostly stays silent with you until you kind of going off on a track that's not so beneficial. Then your stomach will cramp or something, your throat will get tight or something. But she'll let you know, not there, not that, So we have to learn to listen to Mother Earth, right? That's how we listen. We realize she's been talking to our body the whole time.
And sometimes she acts out. Like sometimes we get very severe.
She's like, whack.
Right. So that leads me right to your book, because your book is called Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. So 2 questions about that. What was your motivation to write this book? And what is that ancient earth wisdom that you say we must remember that will save humanity? And boy, Kerri, could this humanity take some saving right now. So help us with this.
Fire away. Okay. Well, my whole life changed when I learned about shamanism and I found the medicine wheel. And I learned about the 4 directions, and I learned that Mother Earth is alive in my very body. Because like I said, my brain, the faulty thinking in my brain was what was preventing me from living a grounded, happy life. So when I integrated with Mother Earth, my heartbeat aligned with Mother Earth's heartbeat in a Schumann resonance. So Mother Earth's resonance is changing right now because she's going through a different part of the galaxy. So that resonance is shifting.
Stop right there. Explain that to everybody, because I know that's true, and I've heard that a lot, and that's part of that 5D thing, right? That the Earth is in a different part of the galaxy right now, and the vibration is higher.
Yeah, so everybody thinks that like our solar system is just sort of like stuck in place in the middle of space and it's not moving. But actually, we're always moving. Just like we rotate around the sun, our whole solar system rotates around a galaxy, and then everything rotates. Everything is going in a spiral, spiraling. So we're in constant motion. And so as we spiral, we move into different energies, different frequencies, different vibrations. And there's a lot of, spectrum in terms of levels of consciousness, levels of energies, frequencies that we could be experiencing. So Mother Earth has been hanging out in kind of a dense frequency for a long time in 3D, and she's moving herself up because she's kept herself there so we would all have a chance to learn our lessons before she moves, because she's extremely caring, like really empathetic. She can
actually determine this as a consciousness of Mother Earth, or this is just happening as the spirals are going on? It's like a natural thing or a conscious thing?
That's a really good question. What came first, the chicken or the egg? But I think that consciousness is always deciding what's next, and everything is reflected in the stars. But consciousness is always metamorphosing what's going to happen next. And that's why there's all these various timelines that we could be participating on. But from my meditations with Mother Earth, what I got was that she was really doing her best to stay in this frequency as long as she could, because humanity, her creation of humanity, was really struggling to lift its consciousness out of victim consciousness, right? Really struggling for a long time. And so to assist Mother Earth in being sure that her creation survives, many of us across the galaxy as part of the second wave said yes to being here on the planet at this time, inhabiting as human and lifting the consciousness from the inside out. And so if you're listening to this message, that's probably you, and you might be getting chills right now in your body to confirm it. And if that's true, then what's happened for you, and this is the second wave, the first wave, and Dolores Cannon talks about this in her work. She's interviewed thousands of people, thousands of souls. She's passed away now, but she interviewed thousands and thousands of souls in subconscious meditation and confirmed this. So if you feel this is true about you, you might even know what planet you come from. Like you might be aware that you're a starseed and what planet you come from. So a lot of us came to the planet at this time, starseeds and, master magicians and people who could really get in there and modify the human genome. We all decided, yes, we'll come and we'll help with this human species. At the same time as I say that, I don't want to make any special differentiation, because every single human at this time on the planet can claim Homo luminous for themselves. It is not reserved for starseeds. Any human on the planet can claim Homo luminous, and it requires a release of identity, and it requires a release of a lot of conditioning and a lot of ways of thinking about things, and a lightening of the load, so to speak, to allow the self to shift into the higher vibrations. And we are supporting that every human can do this by the collective effort of the second wave and the first wave. And now the third waves are starting to come in on the planet, even lifting it more. That lifting of elevation is supporting every human to claim it. And in the process of being lifted into these higher vibrations, it looks like chaos. It looks like turbulence. It looks like mess.
Boy, does it ever.
It looks like my life is falling apart. It looks like my health is going down the tubes. It looks like my relationship just broke up. It looks like I feel weird all the time. It looks like my brain's not really working the way it used to work. It looks like all that. And that's the beginning invitation to the journey to wake up. That is your knowing, and we're all collectively doing it on the planet at this time.
So the choice is, do you sit in that suffering, or do you start to heal and work with your stuff so that you can aid yourself to move forward, right? And
yes, it is. It is. And it doesn't have to take a lifetime. So I wanted to say, I want to really encourage anybody listening who's in the psychotherapy industry, please, 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 you learn quantum tools for helping clients to shift, because this does not have to take 20 years on a couch. And as a matter of fact, we don't have that kind of time. So please learn quantum tools for shifting people's states so that people can heal much more quickly. Now,
they access themselves for a quantum tool.
Well, they need to pick somebody to learn from,
like you.
Like me or anybody. I don't care. Pick me, pick anybody, but pick somebody that you resonate with their message. Like, start educating yourself. Listen to all these episodes on Irene's podcast. Pick somebody that you resonate with and go for it. And don't quit until you master it, and then start sharing it with your clients. Like, that's really what needs to happen. We don't have any more time for this, listening every single week to the victim story. No, we don't have time for that. What we want to do is help shift people out of that book of fate, which they inherited for themselves. Their soul picked it. Out of that book of fate into their book of destiny. Now, book of destiny is where we all want to be working right now, because that puts you in the mode of being the sacred dreamer of Earth. What do you, as a sacred dreamer, want to call into being 7 generations from now on the planet? Now, there's a lot of us already doing this sacred dreaming together, but we could always use more help. So, more people that are lifted to the 5D can do that sacred dreaming and manifest those potentials. And the more of us that are doing that, the quicker the manifestation happens. And then that supports all the other people that are really struggling with making the leap, right? It helps everybody.
I want to ask you though, so everyone's doing this deep healing, all right? And they're moving forward. But you state in your book that on the other side of deep healing is the forgiveness that releases all souls from the contracts that keep suffering in place. And then you talk about the new important wake-up call that's coming. So address those two items. Are they connected, or one is a result of the other?
Well, forgiveness is one thing, but forgiveness assumes that something still was done that was wrong. So this is the shift in consciousness, is the total radical acceptance of everything that happened in your life as completely necessary for your soul's evolution, completely necessary to bring you to Homo luminous. And Homo luminous is the wake-up call, because we are moving out just like happened long ago when the Cro-Magnon appeared on the planet. The Neanderthals were still on the planet for a while, but they died out. So Cro-Magnon became the new standard of human, and then Homo sapien, and now Homo luminous. So you don't want to get left in the dust. You want to carry your genes forward, your families, all your ancestry that has worked so hard to survive and to thrive. You want all that ancestral wisdom to make it into Homo luminous. And you got to do that through your vessel, through your body, right? So
our bodies are our vessels. Absolutely.
You got to do it. And that's the wake up call, is Homo luminous. Once we hit Homo luminous, those of us that are getting close to it, everything changes. Life is completely different in Homo Luminous. It is not even the same thing. We transcend the human drama. And now, if we engage in some, it's for fun. It's not
That's fabulous.
It's not to tear you down into a little shred, like has been happening.
So define Homo Luminous for us, though. So if someone that says, I wonder if I'm in Homo Luminous, what are some traits of Homo Luminous?
Okay, well, let's say Buddha had the rainbow body, right? And so the rainbow body is Homo Luminous. And up until now, very few individuals, Jesus Christ, Yeshua ben Yosef, actually, let's do a little correction there. But every so often there's an individual that inhabits the rainbow body, that inhabits Homo Luminous.
Define the rainbow body also.
The rainbow body is your auric field is actually filled with the rainbow. The rainbow is the truth. We are all on the rainbow bridge. The Vikings were correct about that. So we are all on the rainbow bridge, and our auric field. It actually, when you see somebody who is inhabited Homo Luminous, their auric field has a rainbow all around the outside of it. And you can see it. You can actually capture it in photos. When there's actually a curandera medicine woman from the Karo shamans, the medicine people in the high Andes, who has this. And I have a picture of her at one of our gatherings. We have a picture of her by the fire, and you can see the rainbow body all around her auric field. This is a person who exemplifies compassion, all the acidic high frequencies. This is a person who pretty much lives at the acidic frequencies, the high frequencies. Because once you bust free from the matrix, all there is the truth, and you're in the high frequencies all the time. You don't struggle with judgment anymore. You don't struggle with all that.
You don't get into drama. You don't get into judgment. You really are. And what about if people are very toxic or drama is going on? You lift yourself. You separate. You detach from it. Is that?
Well, I actually have to back up and clarify something, because I don't want to set a false expectation. So for many of us on our way to the rainbow body, we have to walk the middle way. So the middle way is embracing all the shadow and all the light, both, the whole spectrum. As we embrace all the shadow and all the light, we're walking the middle way. This is what Buddha did, walk the middle way. As we walk the middle way, eventually the whole matrix disappears.
And we become, so the rest of it kind of falls away.
Just falls away. It's like
authentic.
Yeah, because you just realize the whole thing is a construct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And did you have a personal wake-up call that transformed your life, that kicked all of this in motion for you?
Yeah, I think it was really the suicide. I think it was a suicidal ideation, the thought of I wouldn't be there for my sons if I don't get myself together and figure out what to do for myself, because the external solutions were not working for me.
Wow.
So I needed to find what my thumbprint journey, what was going to bring me to the place of solid grounding and be able to do what in my heart I always wanted to do, which is what I'm doing now. I always have wanted to be in service to people. I've always wanted to be a helpful light in the world.
And you are.
I was suppressed under a lot of darkness for a while. I had to make my way through it in order to find my way here. But it was my path I had to chart. And so when I teach people the tools and strategies that I learned, I'm also in full recognition of their inner wisdom. They already have inner medicine. All I'm doing is helping people recognize their own inner medicine and see themselves in that, and then move through the embodiments of it. So
you really see who they are aside from all the constructs.
Yeah, I can see through because I know what a lot of those constructs are, so I can see through them.
Right. Yeah. So now there's so many ways that you help people. You've got private mentoring, shamanic healing, illumination healing. You've got an upcoming retreat in Peru, and you do discovery sessions. So where do you want to start, Kerri? Tell them all about how you can help them.
I would like to start with inner medicine. So I'd like to start with the inner medicine book, and you can get a free chapter of that at the website that is kerrihummingbird.com/inner medicine. And my name is Kerri, so kerrihummingbird.com, inner medicine, all one word. And from there, you'll just launch into the mystery with me. Just pick a starting point if you like what I'm saying, and go get the book and, participate. When you go there, if it's before April 22nd, 2023, you'll get to participate live with us. If not, you'll get a replay of the sacred ceremony we're doing to honor Mother Earth and really experience what that's like to be in ceremony and ritual, which we need to reawaken at this time. Our ancestors did this. This is how they survived and brought us here. So
Right.
we need to return.
So if they read your book and now they want to work with you and they want to grow and heal and all of that, what's the first step? Is it a discovery session?
Discovery session is a really good way to start, because then I can talk to you and see what's going on in your life and get a sense of like where you're going and what you might be interested in, because I have a lot of different offerings. And then ultimately, if you feel like you're a healer and you're really meant to be here as a light to others and to support others as a leader, teacher, or healer in whatever capacity you are, then inner medicine training might be what you want, because I do train healers, but we start with the self. We start with
Healer, heal
knowledge.
thyself, right? Healer, heal thyself.
Yeah. Yeah. The inner medicine training is a program that gets you through all the aspects of yourself to really ground your own medicine. And then we start talking about how you could be a healer for other people, because you got to start with self.
Do you have an upcoming retreat in Peru you want to tell people about?
2024, I moved it to 2024. There's plenty of time to hop on board with that. We're going to spend 2 weeks in Peru. We're going to go to the Sacred Valley to work with the shamans out there and go to many sacred locations. There's nothing like putting your body in the actual space of the temple, like in your body, in that temple space where people have prayed and done ceremony and honored the earth for so long is so potent. So I like to go to all those spaces, and then we'll do some wachuma, some plant medicine for people who haven't done that. It's a really good experience, very gentle medicine. And then we're actually going to go to the Holy Mountain. So one day at the Holy Mountain Al Sangate to say your prayers directly to the mountain. Mountains are a big deal in the Karo medicine. And then we're going to go to Lake Titicaca for a few days and experience the highest lake out there in Peru and the birthplace of the Inca. So really,
Wow.
really, really
Not only
beautiful.
do you get to heal, but you get to have amazing experiences and meet marvelous people. Sounds fabulous.
It's amazing. It's a mystery tour ride. It really is.
Fabulous.
It's an adventure.
And I want to ask you, because the passion for this podcast is healing. So why do you say it's essential to slow down, soften our hearts, and open our hearts to what is right in front of us in order to heal? And why, Kerri Hummingbird Sami, is it important for each of us to heal?
Yeah, really good question. So I'll start with the second question, which is when we heal ourselves, we heal others too, because we're in a closed ecosystem. So, and we're all connected, just like the mycelial network of the mushrooms. Even if we think we're separate, we're not. We're part of one large body called Mother Earth. We're a cell in that body of Earth. And so by becoming healthy, a healthy cell in Mother Earth, you help the whole body to heal. And so what we want to do is take that journey to heal. It's very important at this time. Take that journey to heal yourself. And by healing yourself, you're also going to heal your family system. And then as you walk around, the second wave has a chapter on this from Jennifer Huff, who's a friend of mine and a physicist. She explains how this all works. But when you become healed, everything you heal in your body, and healing is an ongoing process, but everything you heal in your body becomes part of the light that you emit as these photon packages of light, becomes part of the light you emit everywhere you go, like me sitting here right now. Everything I've done. And the only way to heal is to get still. If you don't get still, there's a rock concert going on in your head, and you can't hear the subtle messages from your guides, your soul, and Mother Earth that are here to help you. If you got a rock concert in your head, you can't hear the birds outside. You can't hear the messages.
That is so true. I've experienced it myself.
Yeah.
That is
It's
so
funny
true.
how sometimes I sit and I think I'm being still, and then I get more still, and then I get more still, and all of a sudden I hear the birds. It's like, my mind was active. I didn't even realize I was being busy. And then I got still, and now I can hear the wind blowing. And it's in that presence that Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now. That's the presence that heals. The presence does the healing. So although I'm a medicine woman and I do healings with people, what I do is I call on my own presence and I get still. And then the heart resonance of my heart creates heart coherence with the other person, and they get more still. And then the presence does the healing.
And the presence is a very subtle presence. So you will really have to be still to be able to perceive it and heal it.
And when you drop into the presence, it's actually not subtle at all, but you have to drop into that ocean of presence to realize all that's going on in the subconscious that needs some shift. And then you can actually feel it moving in your body when you're in presence. And it's not subtle at all when you're in the presence. It's very loud. It's like, oh, wow, this is going on. People smell tobacco and I'm like on the phone with them from, I don't know how far away. They can smell it when I blow it. They can hear messages. They can see themselves inside the sanctuary, their loved one or their inner child. They can feel the energy moving through their body. All of that happens in presence. That's the 5D. Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. And what is the Kerri tip for finding joy in life?
Let's see. Open your heart and keep opening your heart. Like anything you can do to keep opening your heart. And the more you open your heart and the more you open that sun that's in your heart, the more joy comes into your life. And it's not that challenges stop and you're just like, I've arrived, no more challenges. It's not like that. It's just that you feel joy. You can feel joy at the same time as grief. And I know you've experienced this, Irene. You can feel joy and grief, and you can hold them both at the same time. That's the awakening I was talking about. That's what happens with ascended masters. That's what happens with Buddha. That's what happens with these master teachers. They hold all of it. They hold the joy right next to the grief, and they're willing without any resistance to feel all of it. That's the awakening.
That's beautiful. And I'm sure that it's associated also with gratitude. Because
tremendous joy. Gratitude.
Tremendous, right? Because now all of a sudden, instead of focusing more on those things that are pulling you down and the suffering, you're open to all the good things and the blessings which you couldn't hear and perceive before because of the circus that was going on all the time, right? Would you agree with that?
I do. Actually, gratitude was one of the first really huge hurdles for me, was to become grateful. And the ceremony that we're doing on Earth Day and that I do periodically for people, the despacho from the Andes, helps create that gratitude, swelling of gratitude in your heart, because we set aside that sacred time and presence to really consider all the blessings that you do have and focus our mind on the blessings and on gratitude for the blessings. It's so easy to focus on the problems. It's so easy to focus on what's not going the way you want. It's so easy to focus on the pain. What's more of an invitation to change your life is to focus on the gratitude. What is going well? What is beautiful? Oh, I have my breath. Oh, I feel peace right now. Oh, this little part of my body feels good for a second. Oh, that's beautiful. I have this wonderful person in my life, Irene. You could say anything, right? And your heart would just, your grandkids, you're getting ready to go watch your grandkids play baseball. That just opens your heart, and so much gratitude. You get to see every little win that they have. That's what makes life so special. So that when you're on your deathbed and you want to make death your ally, when you're on your deathbed, you look back over your life and you go, wow, that was well lived.
Well lived. I met my challenges. I lived it, and I'm so grateful.
So grateful
for everything. Kerri, the intention of your remarkable book, and you are just remarkable, is, well, first of all, your book is Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. And your intention with the book is to awaken us to our divinity and to inspire and encourage each of us to courageously heal and become our authentic, real selves. And what a role model you are for that. Thank you for being such an outstanding role model as you inspire others to be true to themselves as you are true to yourself. And I thank you from my heart for sharing your enlightened insights once again on Grief and Rebirth podcast. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. And here is a very loving reminder, everyone, that you can see the show notes at all Grief and Rebirth podcast episodes on ireneweinberg.com. And make sure to follow us, and we know you like us, on social at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram and Facebook and wherever you get your podcasts, social media, etc. As I like to say, to be continued. Many blessings. Bye for now. And Kerri, what a pleasure to be with you again today.